Baba came in sometime later off the boat with Norina, and Norina brought Baba over to Darwin and Jean, and she introduced him. And Darwin said when Baba reached out his hand up, you know, it was like reliving the pages of the New Testament. Angela, you better go on ahead.
Oh, sweetie.
But I mean, he had never felt such love. He was much loved in his life, but not that kind of love. You know, divine love. And he could see that Baba saw all of his weaknesses and strengths and loved him unconditionally. And was everything that he expected. That handshake came across 2,000 years. And here it was, all starting again. So anyway, that's what I have to say.
That is a wonderful introduction to the book and to Darwin. Ah, yes, Jai Baba. I'm Angela. I'm calling in from Myrtle Beach. The Circle of Friends is now virtual, and so this is my house in North Myrtle Beach. And Jeff?
From Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and work at the center, Baba's beautiful center here. Well, let's have a few moments of silence, and then we'll decide what we want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Everybody. So as we said before, Angela will go down a list and you can either read like a subchapter or you can pass. And if anybody has any comments or relevance, maybe we can think of things that Darwin has said in other contexts that might be of help, might clarify things. But Darwin, this book is about changing your address from your address in the world to that timeless, spaceless place within. And it's about you changing our address, and that address is Meher Baba. So let's go. Let's get on the journey.
Chapter 1, The Divine Beloved. So this is the first sentence is a quote from Baba. The perennial spring of imperishable sweetness is within everyone, Meher Baba. We have the door to the unlimited within us and the opportunity for infinite exploration within. The spiritual path is wide open for those who are ready to pursue spiritual values. We have to dare to plunge into the ocean of God's being. It is fascinating to discover the spiritual potential we could be enjoying. It can happen to us, and now is the most propitious time of priceless value due to the strong avtaric influence of Meher Baba's advent. So I guess the next one
Yes,
is the
please.
subchapter, Precious
Continue.
Beyond Words. Avatar Meher Baba has been called the Awakener. He says, I have come not to teach, but to awaken. I experience him as the divine beloved, who has come as Savior, Messiah, Christ, to awaken us from the dream of creation. He awakens us to the spiritual quest and removes the barriers to further progress in that quest toward reality. The wonder of who Meher Baba, the divine beloved, really is, and the sweetness of his love for us is precious beyond words. The pure sweetness and heavenly beauty of our beloved can never be described adequately in words, because there are no words capable of revealing the glorious love that he really is. He is the source of divine love, which is constantly pouring out into all of creation. Meher Baba's divine love is infinitely powerful, yet unimaginably sweet, tender, and personal. Divine love is penetrating, clear, and beautiful. It is also light, cheerful, and infinitely free. It is awakening, transforming, and liberating. Divine love conveys illumination, a penetrating knowingness. When one is exposed to this love, one experiences a great expansion of consciousness, and the sanskaric horde of impressions that normally keeps us captive is put aside. One feels liberated and finds oneself swimming in the ocean of light, love, and beauty. Divine love opens the heart center, which becomes the main means of communication with the beloved, releasing the spirit and arousing an intense love for him. When through his grace some of the veils fall away, one beholds him with the eyes of the heart. The indescribable beauty of his love irresistibly summons the soul to adoration and union. It unites one with him, the divine beloved in the spirit. Divine love is total significance. It is total significance because it embodies reality, truth. Divine love is the entire significance of creation. Divine love is the purpose of life, the meaning of life, and it is our destiny. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Fantastic.
Jai
Such a
Baba.
beautiful chapter.
Wow. Any comments
So,
by anybody?
Let's see. Meher Baba's work project.
yes.
That's what we are.
All right. We all have the same destiny to realize our own divinity, our own godhood, and be free of the ego. The problem is to raise the consciousness and at the same time abolish the ego. Darwin Shaw. My belief is that we can get closer to the goal of life by consciously striving for it with the Master's help. All the explanations that Meher Baba has given through the discourses and other books are for the purpose of leading us toward divine love, toward actual merging with God. We are Baba's work project, and this is his work with us. Meher Baba asserts that in truth everyone is God, but that we are unconscious of our godhood. The truth is latent within us, but it must be awakened. We must become conscious of it. To realize consciously what we already are, unconsciously, we have to become free of the false self, the ego. And I believe that this is accomplished through our own efforts and through the intervention of the Master's divine grace. Meher Baba is working to raise our consciousness from the dual realm, which means that he is opening doorways to increasing inner freedom. He redirects our consciousness toward the truth and urges us to take our stand upon the truth within and work toward it ourselves instead of lingering unnecessarily long in the dream of illusion. He works on our behalf to destroy the veils that cloud our consciousness from the truth, and this brings us salvation of the spirit, freedom that is experienced at the level of the spirit. He has come to take us beyond the opposites and to help us get free of them as we go through life. He has come to release us from the bondage of time-bound illusion. Then we are no longer subject to the world and its opposites. We find lasting inner freedom and true happiness within, far beyond the dual realm. This is what Baba means when he refers to the inner happiness of God realization. I feel that Meher Baba's work of freeing us from our false self and the illusory creation is still going on and will continue to go on as a part of the work of the Avatar. I believe that knowingly or unknowingly, we are all participants in a divine design unfolding toward our spiritual potential, our own godhood, and a small thing it is to ask of us that we should help in getting ourselves free.
Shy, and usually when we do these meetings, comments come out quite freely, but this is probably takes a little bit getting used to this format.
I have something to say.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of wrestle with this in a way in my daily life, which is there's the awareness that Baba does everything. And at the same time, there's this little pocket of these choices I make on a moment-to-moment basis. And obviously, for me, it's an intuition. But in a sense, I'm kind of caught sometimes with this thing of I don't know if you call it like passiveness but it's I don't know how to phrase this. It's like surrendering to the fact that everything is Baba's will, but at the same time, I got to do my best, and that to me sometimes is a real challenge because, especially with things like the suffering that's going on or whatever it's happening around me, sometimes I really want to, or I do act out, or I just can't resist the sanskaric. I do the thing, and then it's like, that was Baba's will too, that I would fail that time, but I have to keep going. And so I don't know what to say about that. It's just that this thing about efforting is I appreciate that about Darwin, because he's like, you have to effort towards it, and not just say, well, it's all Baba doing it, so I just throw my hands up, and let the car run me over instead of walk across the street, or anyways.
No, very good. I mean, what you've highlighted is the great challenge, that it's all in there, it's all Baba doing it, but then where do we fit in, And it's, I once asked Darwin about his take on free will and predestination, and I came up with various phrases. And the one he signed off on was spontaneous predestination. and this is what he meant, is that the film is already shot, but it's black and white. And through our love, which predates creation, we're free to express it. So we put the colors into this black and white film, so we're kind of free to color this drama that could be very, just black and white and humdrum. So, and of course, sometimes we fill in some lousy colors and we have to try to, mix up some better colors.
Just a lot of red.
Yeah, a lot sometimes. Of red. Yeah. But what you say is what we're all faced with, as I gathered from Darwin. Yeah.
Thank you.
Paul Fusco has his hand up.
Hey, what's up, Al?
How you doing, Paulie?
Hi, brother. I struggle a lot of times with that very same concept. And maybe this is why it was just the other night before Angela got a text with this, but I got at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is unusual for me.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the words were
5:30.
the words were, Alan, reject all of what the mind tells you except that which comes from the heart. And so a lot of times when we have decisions, things of that nature, and we've got everything circulating through our mind, including our sanskaras, the only way to navigate, the only compass I have is love. And so Baba says he lives in the heart. So I check whatever is being said. I check whatever my decision is, and then I try to listen deeply into the heart. And that's the way in which I go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're at layers of the cake. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Meher Baba refers to the gradual effacement of the false self as the progressive conquest of the unconscious by the conscious. This means that the goal of life, simply stated, is to make our unconscious minds conscious. However, between the unconscious and the conscious resides the subconscious. And this is where our central problem lies. The unconscious, subconscious, and conscious are layers of a consciousness, parts of the same cake. The obstacle we have to contend with is the residue of sanskaras, deposits of impressions accumulated from past experiences, embedded mostly in our subconscious minds. These sanskaras create veils over our consciousness, blocking us from the awareness of who we really are. Each one of us has amassed a unique set of sanskaras due to our own particular experiences. In the discourses, Meher Baba explains the evolution of consciousness in great detail. Here, I will only say that the whole purpose of it, during which consciousness was chiseled, hammered, and brought into being through suffering, pleasure, and all of the opposites, was to evolve consciousness. Once we have achieved creation consciousness as human beings, our consciousness is complete and we are equipped to experience the unconscious, the oversoul, consciously. However, because of our sanskaric veils, we are conscious only of creation and of ourselves as being limited. We have the means of being aware of who we really are, but we go on using our fully evolved consciousness to experience the illusory creation, the gross world, which was merely the means to the end, when the end, full consciousness, has already been achieved. That is our predicament. We have become addicted to the creation. We perpetuate our own bondage by continuously accepting what our sanskaras impel us to think, feel, and do. Sanskaras give rise to false thinking, which in turn creates the passing illusory drama, which we take to be reality, causing us to remain ignorant of the one reality, our true identity. That is why Meher Baba says, the problem of deconditioning the mind through the removal of the sanskaras is therefore extremely important. Instead of our consciousness to express our sanskaras by pursuing more pleasures, excitement, and experiences in the gross world, Baba says that we should turn our consciousness inward toward the reality and begin to explore in that direction. Jai Meher Baba.
Jai Baba.
Any comments from anybody? I think people probably know this material pretty well from all of Bob's writing.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
What's your take on turn inwardly?
Well, it's working from consciousness being on the objective realm, the outside realm, and following, I know from Darwin, following the inner currents, the current, the flow of thought, the flow of emotion as it's going through us, rather than the outer manifestation of thought and emotion. So you're getting it before it projects itself out into the world. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So you start to become more absorbed in the inner phenomenon that precedes expression in the world. And in doing so, you gain some control so that you can create a different life, especially one of more loving life, if you have a better control of your emotions and thoughts.
So is it like experiencing the sanskaras inwardly and then kind of taking them in before acting upon them?
Yeah, and tuning into the higher streams of feeling and thought, rather than you have some, Darwin used to talk about creating inner space. I mean, I remember early on, we didn't know what he was talking about, but we kind of got a sense of there's some space between your consciousness and your thoughts and your emotions, so that you can choose rather than just jumping into the river of thought and feeling and waking up 35 miles downstream. You can try to get up on the bank of thought, of the river of thought and feeling, and then choose the higher values as opposed to the just the ordinary sanskaric reactions. I don't know if that makes.
No, it does. I like that. Thank you.
Okay.
Inner
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Laurice has her hand up.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really a gift of this time, and I keep looking for the gifts and trying to focus on what I'm grateful for, is that now that I'm not in my car as much and I'm not running around as much, what is clear is that, you know, I'll check in with Bob in the morning, and if I'm lucky, I'll meditate. I'll turn my will and my life over to him and I'll meditate. But then there's times during the day that I'll forget to say, Baba, what's your will for me for this? Baba, what's your will for me for this? And I'm really being called to this inner life that Darwin is talking about, to connecting more, really centering more. And I find that I'm being inspired by people who are living that more and more. I have an associate in business who talks about not doing any moves in her business without connecting in first. And I'm like, yeah, I've forgotten a lot of that, you know? So I think that's the gift of slowing down. It's like, how can I be more with Baba? How can I stop and take a break and read some Baba literature? And so I really like this, right? Because it's so easy to react or live in this, I love the illusion, right? Rather than keep going in and acting or not acting from that place, whatever Baba guides me to do. Thanks, Jai Baba.
Yeah, beautiful. That's true. Yeah.
The folks who are, oh, Heidi's got her hand up. Good.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking that the title of the book, Effort and Grace, always comes round the circle, whatever the chapter is about. And I was thinking in all this that if we're willing to put forth effort in right use, we're more aware of Baba's grace overflowing. And isn't that what the inward is? I came from a life in social work of enormous crazy activity that I had to throw myself into things, and then I would wait for Baba to give me some direction. And at one point I heard Baba saying internally to me, I was so frustrated, and he said, step aside. And I'm like, huh? That's what step aside. And I'm like, okay. And so I kind of stepped aside. I didn't know what it meant. How do I do that physically? Well, I kind of did it inwardly, and a whole world opened up. That's kind of Baba's world.
Yeah.
To be able to be of service when you step aside, it's magical, and rare. And I feel now what we're going through with this this current challenge is Baba widening the circle. Like here, circle of friends, we're meeting, and I never imagined, I thought I had to live in Myrtle Beach to participate in a group like this. And all of a sudden, we're all from everywhere, and it'll probably expand. And I was thinking, does it mean just a circle with Baba lovers? No, there's a 96-year-old Jamaican lady that lives around the corner from me, and I've made friends with her. And how we made friends was she was lost, and I helped her get home, and she let me come in the house, and she said, I pray to Jesus for 4 hours every morning. And as I walked in the house, she's telling me this, and I felt like I was hit over the head with this light. Her house was lit. You hear me? It was lit up. And I thought, oh my God, you know, and we're friends. I talk to her. I see her every day. She lives by herself. And I don't have any impulsive need to even tell her about Baba because she knows Baba. You know what I mean? She lives Baba. So I just feel like inward is expansive. It's us personally and being aware of our crap or stuff to put it aside, but also expansive to connect with not just Baba lovers, but all lovers of God. You know, there's a time for this now, I think.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
This is so refreshing because I get tied up in faces during a meeting at the circle. And here I'm just listening to hearts and names and the words coming from the effort and grace. So it is very special. I don't have a book, but what I do have is I have this time out that I have right now where we're not mingling anymore, and I'm not a favorite of the coronavirus, but it's helping me to go inward and spend time thinking of Baba and talking with others about Baba and talking on the phone. And a lot of time is spent now realizing how near Baba is, not because of I'm old and I headed that way, but near being that throughout the day when I'm thinking of him, I know he's trying to guide me and help me, and I feel so much more love when I'm focused on Baba. So it's good to hear all your names, and I recognize some voices, and God bless you all. We're all encouraging each other to be together in oneness.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Shraddha, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did. I was just curious because in the, how events landed today, and I was thinking back, what should our emotions be like? And I was reading through a blog article by one of the Baba lovers, and they're like, this is the time to surrender. It's like the absolute way Baba has always described. Should we be feeling sad? Should we go out? Should we be feeling, surrendering ourselves? What's the emotion that we should be? We should face what's happening today, the challenges that are happening today, the politically, the administrative wise, there are things that are, that enrage people. There are a lot of people that are, furious about how things get managed there. And on the other side, you look at the medical professionals and the healthcare, they are so, they're literally scrounging and they're reaching out for help. And of course, it's one of our duties to go out and help. But as you get involved in it, some of us, I include myself to be one amongst those who get so passionate and so engaged with, whatever I do, that it's very difficult for me to get myself out of it. And then think about Baba. What would Baba have me want to do? I just find it challenging to put myself aside, take myself out of what I am in that situation, and and think about how Baba would want me to do things. It just feels like a flurry of different emotions, especially in times like these, which are panic.
Yes.
Yeah. No, many people are dealing with that for sure. But if and Darwin was, in this situation like this, Darwin would actually be quite calm. But, he the words where Prophet Muhammad says, let's see, the words, what is it? Trust God, but tie your camel.
Yes.
So But at the same time, he was very much into remaining in the present, not to try to stay energetically in the present, not get energetically in the future, which is the imagination. But you can think about the future if you can stay energetically in the present when you're doing it. That was his approach. I don't know if that helps or makes any sense.
It does. It definitely makes sense, trying to stay in the present instead of thinking about the future, where worry definitely gets us.
Yeah. I mean, you can think of things in the future in the present if you can stay in the present. You know, in other words, if you've got, you might have a dental appointment on Tuesday, and you can note that in the present. But if it's going to be a root canal and you're worried about it, now you're energetically in the future. So it's hard to stay energetically in the present.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can I say something?
Yes,
Which
you're
has
next.
to, you can also think inwardly about what you can offer. You know, it's like we're thinking so much about everything that can be offered outwardly, but of course, inwardly, people are, you know, struggling. And your love, your compassion, you know, it's like it's an opportunity for us to learn how to, you know, share this infinite space that's inside us. We may not always be able to be right there. And it kind of opens doors to like little tiny things that, you know, like a smile that just comes at the right moment. Either you catch somebody else's smile just at the right moment, or they catch yours, and you both know that you got something really good. You know, it was not, you know, some big external thing. It was inward, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Great, Becky. Yeah.
Elizabeth, your hand was up. Sorry.
Yeah, there we
you
go.
go.
Well,
Oh, I can't hear her. Yeah.
Let's try that again, Elizabeth.
when the lady who was just speaking saying she was worried, she wasn't sure how to deal with all these emotions. I'm sorry, I don't have the name.
Shraddha.
But the word, yes. The word that came to me is equipoise. I think Baba would have us try to develop or use equipoise as a way to deal with whatever it is, but that's not easy. So just that word came to me, so I wanted to share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great word.
Great challenge.
Logic of experience. For ages, we have been addicts to illusion, but have not realized it. In prison, but have not known it. We have been dwelling in a semi-darkness when, by a little effort, we could be dwelling in the light. Fortunately, there are mechanisms that are built into the whole creation process that will eventually impel us to conclude that only an potent goal is realized, the truth, and everything else is hallucinatory nightmare. The mechanisms include periodic revelations or awakenings given by the master, but the primary mechanism is a natural maturing process. Our many lifetimes of experience whereby we naturally turn to the spiritual path, and this process involves disillusionment. We are like mule, a fellow in negotiating to buy. Does he obey? Does the buyer ask the owner? Sure, the owner replies, show me. The buyer demands. The owner then picks up a big stick and starts beating the mule over the head. Hey, what are you doing? Cries the buyer. You said this mule obeys. He does, says owner, but first you have to get his attention. Mirababa tells us that the logic of experience gathered through many lives drives everyone sooner or later to the spiritual path. Actually, he says several lives, But I think that for the vast majority of us, it has taken many lives. This inner logic drives everyone to the spiritual path because we learn after a while that by continuing in the realm of desires and gross thoughts and gross actions all the time, we ourselves are creating the conditions that will cause us to reincarnate again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think fortunately the reincarnations that we're going to experience are going to all be hearing about Baba again for the next 700 years and draw closer to him. So these aren't just random incarnations. Each lifetime we're drawing closer to Baba, and there's a party after this party. As Eric said, there's the internal, through the internal links, we're going to keep drawing closer and closer each Advent to be with Baba.
Jerry and Carol Ann, you had your hand up?
Yeah. Well, I can only say it's a really sobering thought that he's kind of, I'm not saying he's saying it casually. I'm saying he just sort of drops it in there, you know. We're creating the conditions that will cause us to reincarnate again and again. And what's implied, of course, in that is that you know, we have full responsibility. So, you know, on the effort side of things, you know, he's implying that we have full responsibility. And that's pretty solid. Thanks.
Yeah.
One of the things that's so exciting about Darwin, his point of view, is that we could do it in this life. Why are we waiting?
Yeah. We are very, very fortunate, and Bob is helping us. Even if we get lost, he finds us again and again. Okay. Any other
Yes.
remarks? Yeah.
Paul Fusco.
Yeah, you know, in reading this and you know, looking at the mechanisms as Darwin refers to, and that the mechanisms are built in, as you know, almost like we're ripening on the vine. These mechanisms are built in disillusionment, you know, to bring us to the spiritual path. And then it struck me that and something else that I was reading, and basically all of these decisions that we make and these sanskaras that we create and then take on are mostly unnatural. And then even as part of the mechanism, Meher Baba then takes on his avataric form, right, to actually help within that mechanism. So it's all part of this divine scheme and will, but we have our part to play in that. But it's almost as if when the avataric incarnation happens, that it's like a check valve to make sure that, you know, the unnatural sanskaras don't overlap and crest, right, what needs to be done. So that just popped into my head as we were reading that.
This is Denny again. I think there was a time when Darwin ran into a particular predicament, and it was when he was in India with Baba for the 3 Incredible Weeks. And he so wanted to be with Baba, and they went off to, I believe it was Sai Baba's tomb. And he really didn't want to be there as much as he wanted to be just with Baba. And he found himself the next person in line to bow down to Sai Baba. And he said, "Oh, I don't want to be here. I want to be with you, Baba." And he said, "I didn't come all this way to bow down to Sai Baba." But as he leaned over now to begin to bow down, Baba slipped his hand under Darwin's forehead. And he realized he was bowing down to Baba. Baba had done this intentionally. he felt what Darwin was, I'm sorry, what Darwin was feeling. And he knew what he was thinking. But it's just that, you know, with these predicaments or this confusion or this want is a thing we're used to. And here was Darwin not wanting to bow down to Sai Baba. And he got his wish. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Shall we go on to the next one, or are there any hands up?
I don't have any hands up. How we doing? Yeah. All right. So
We'll go for about 15 more minutes. Does that sound all right?
how about Tim and Noreen?
Sure. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right. A dream within a dream within a dream. Our lives may seem to be long and meaningful, but truly life is very short. We all have to drop our physical bodies someday. Then what happens? We go through a transitional period, and after a while we come back into another body and do the same thing all over again. Meher Baba has told us many times that we are addicted to a mere dream within a dream within a dream. We argue with that because this life seems so real to us. He then explains that when we are asleep and dreaming, we have that same feeling of realness. But when we wake up, we realize that it was a dream after all, and that our feelings in the dream were just transitory and of no consequence. And that is the way our lives are.
After ages and ages, the dream of illusion eventually becomes a nightmare for the soul. We finally experience so much disillusionment that we get fed up with being enslaved at the gross level, and all those temporary things are no longer a lure, an attraction for us. Then we turn to the heavens, we turn within, we turn to God, we turn to the beloved and cry out, what am I doing here? Isn't there something more? What is it all about? What is real? Eventually, after numerous incarnations, we become mature enough so that we can start to withdraw our consciousness from its attraction to the world and begin the involutionary path toward inner freedom. This is the spiritual path toward reality, toward God. It is an unfolding process, a natural process of growth, of maturity, of refinement. In other words, we are growing. Next.
I like that painting behind you there.
Yes.
Aha, isn't that a beauty?
Yeah.
It's a Phyllis Ott original.
Oh, nice.
Any comments from anybody?
I see no hands.
Let's go on to healthy suffering.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no, let's not.
How healthy could the suffering be? Jack and Janice.
Let me start.
Okay.
Healthy suffering. Meher Baba does not put pressure on people to grow. He lets them grow at their own speed. However, I feel that Baba permits disillusionment as a part of the growth experience because it leads to detachment without our becoming callous or unfeeling. So we have growing pains, which leads to disenchantment, and this will involve a certain amount of healthy suffering. Initially, we are going along not contesting the flow of samskaric determination within us. The more we begin to contest the flow with our thoughts, feelings, and actions, the more we may experience a struggle. We are striking out for truth, taking our stand on the truth within.
My experiences with Baba have helped me understand and become so familiar with impelling forces such as anger, lust, and greed, that when confronted with them, the antidote, which would differ with each person, would appear within my consciousness, and I would switch gears and transform them right away.
We do not want to wait until these forces arise and become so impelling that we are helpless to control them. We need to plan ahead. Before these forces take hold of us and overpower us, we need to think them through to their end result and decide for ourselves that this is not the way we want to go. We have to consider ways to counteract these impelling forces. Redirecting them into less binding channels is one way. As spiritual aspirants, we also have to keep a sense of Baba's presence within us in these situations. My secret strategy is to become aware of Baba himself, his presence in all circumstances. He is the master of every situation. Baba.
Wow. Jai Baba.
Any comments from anybody? I know one thing that Darwin would emphasize is that when we're thinking of Baba and experiencing his love, we're dissolving impressions right and left. Even Darwin, I remember he surprised us way back in the 70s by saying that even the good takes up space, but love doesn't take up any space. Both good and bad take up space, but when we're in a state of love, things are getting dissolved, especially in his presence, even if we're not aware of it, but it is nevertheless happening. Okay.
Alan, you've got your hand up.
Hi, sorry. Can you hear
yeah.
me?
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah, so when this came
Hi,
up,
Adrian.
Hi.
this is my wife, Adrian.
Yeah.
I'm his wife.
Oh, you say that so easily.
In this last sentence, he is the master of every situation. I often, sometimes inside myself, especially when things are really intense, and I find myself really, I don't feel any love, I don't feel anything. I'm like miles away from Baba. There's this sudden awareness that's beyond the feeling of emotion, which is Baba is. And when I say that, sometimes there's a slip, the gears slip a little bit, and it's almost like Baba is, and I'll look out sometimes at the horizon, and I just imagine like, well, he's right over there. He's on Earth right now. He's right there. What if he was right there? He was just living here. What would that change the course of my current actions right now? And it always does, because there's a sense of like, whoa, I mean, if he's in India, I mean, what am I? There's this surge of him inside of me, and then I realize actually he's never gone anywhere, and he's right here. Yeah, I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's just, it's Baba is. And so that sort of, sometimes that's a gear slip for me, where it goes past the emotions and the strong sensations.
Beautiful. No, we've all had that experience. And one thing that Darwin was that I gathered from Darwin is the proper use of the human imagination, which is like, you could imagine that there's a pink elephant in the corner, but that's not really based on anything. That's just something created by the imagination, or fantasy. But if you imagine that Baba is right in front of you, you're imagining something that's in fact true, even if you don't experience it. And it's important to always assert that he's right there, watching you, guiding your life, even if you're not able to experience it. Because one day the clouds will clear and you see that's been the truth all along, And Erich used to say, you know, just kid yourself. Use the word, just kid yourself that he's there. And it helps because otherwise you can feel pretty bleak and you feel alone, you know. So Darwin was, what I gathered growing up around him was always believe that he is there loving you unconditionally and watching you even if you don't feel it. Because one day or 2 hours later, or like that vision you had right there, you realize that he's right there. And not to let thoughts come in that he's not there, that you're alone. That was his, what I gathered from him. Yeah. Yeah.
Becky, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, and just to add to that there's a story about this with Muhammad, but never mind. This is about Baba. It's like, and he's the one that prompts that in you. So once you are experiencing just that even pause, he has done that in you. He's in you. So
yeah. Beautiful. Yep. Yeah.
What a blessing. Therein lies the grace, right?
In Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Okay.
Pittsburgh.
Go
ahead.
I'm in Florida right now. Okay, the great favor of disillusionment. We have to want inner freedom more than any illusory thing. But we are dealing with our strongest addiction, our addiction to the creation. It is my understanding that we do not make spiritual progress if we are trying to create and maintain happy conditions in duality while still maintaining unconscious bindings such as desires. The underlying purpose of life provides for gradual reality, but if we persist in trying to maintain a gross situation, it goes against this purpose. That is when the mechanism of disillusionment becomes activated. Disillusionment, and that would apply in our individual cases to the things that we are especially attracted to and bound by, can thus be a great favor to us. Tragedies such as great losses and terrible pain give us temporary detachment. One firmly holds on to the rock of faith. Temporary detachment gradually becomes permanent inner detachment, which is based on understanding, combined with intense longing for God. Then we will seek the reality and we begin to enter the spiritual path and work within toward truth. We look to the master within for security and support. As we go through different stages, our attitudes change. For example, in the beginning of the disillusionment process, when we are less mature, we feel thwarted and frustrated. As we become more mature, we learn how to become more detached in ways that are harmonious. Even in our lives are no longer seen as inflictions, but as blessings. In other words, as we progress, we do not always have the same reactions. The more mature we are, the more mature will be our reactions. Eventually, we are able to experience causeless happiness, an inner state of being that is not dependent upon the gross level at all. So this is the chapter I'm reading when I've had terrible, immature reactions this whole week. Thank you, Baba.
Yeah. Yeah, that term causeless happiness. That's the place we would like to be. Not contingent or dependent upon outer conditions. Yeah. Any comments from anybody?
Oh, yes. Alan again? Very good.
Hi.
Hey. Oh, Adrian.
It's me. Hi,
me.
everyone. I'm Adrian.
Yeah. She's a great singer. Yeah.
Thanks. I just wanted to, I've been having so much like physical suffering, which is recently in the past like year plus, which has kind of created like sort of an existential crisis for me somewhat. And it sort of was building, it's all surrounding my music. And I had a nerve injury where I couldn't play guitar. I had I sliced off the tip of my finger. Sorry, I couldn't play I should have warned you. Trigger warning. But then, and there were some other, you know, aspects of my life that were, I had all this fantasy about how I would show up in this world as a Baba lover and sort of prove myself as a Baba lover in the way that I had decided. For so many years. I was probably born with that, you know, idea. And I sort of was projecting all of my ego onto my ego's desire onto my spirituality and calling it my path, my spiritual path. You know, like if I don't succeed in this way, I'm letting Baba down. If I fail in this way, I'm failing as a Baba lover. If I can't make this, but you know what I mean? So then recently Baba's been just like, I feel okay now, but it was like I had to go to the ER a couple times. Never been to the ER before. I like fell. I cut my finger. I had root canal. I was just getting all kind of torn up. For me, it was a lot. I think people go through much worse stuff than I've been through, but it just brought me to my knees so bad. And it came to this point, this realization where Baba really was just saying, like, I mean, I've, of course, intellectually heard this so many times, but I really felt it like, what are you here for? Like, and that quote of Mani's that has been really useful. Like, I mean, I'm going to misquote it, but you can live for yourself or you can live for Baba, but you can't live for both. Or so it's basically kind of what he's saying. It's like, right. I found myself really trapped, and I still struggle with it, trapped in the need to like manifest stuff, and then feeling like Baba's just like, you know, so lovingly brutal, like, you're not gonna do that. I got you, you're here for me, man, you're not here for all that stuff. And so it's like this beautiful, painful, lots of tears, but I feel like I've gotten to see how he just holding on to me even when I am not holding on to him through that.
No, beautiful.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I mean, what we're kind of come into this world with is I'm not enough. I'm not enough. When I do achieve this, then I'll be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so, I mean, the Manli would say self-improvement is endless, you know, but self-acceptance is closer to where it's much more relaxed and a more beautiful place to be. And sometimes lovely things come out of self-acceptance, you know, not complacency, but, you know, the real self-acceptance. But especially young people like you know, I thought I was going to do a lot in my life, you know, and it was, yeah. But, you know, you're not enough, and you're not enough, but you are, you know.
You're more than enough.
You're more than enough. Ask Alan. Yeah, thank you, Adrian, for that. Yeah, let's go on to the subtraction problem, a subtraction problem.
All right, let's see. I am kind of randomly picking people to read, so. Gabriella, how about you?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I just say something real quick? That this thing of the logic of experience just keeps coming back to me in this meeting, like over and over, that this mercy of Baba, that we don't really even have to do anything because he'll rewrite our ship, and it may be through suffering or it may be through grace, but he's going to wake us up when we're off. And that word logic is usually such a mental word, but it's not in this case the way he's talking about it. And it makes me realize again that mind and emotions really are not separate, and mind and spirit are not separate, they're one. That way that Baba uses his creation has this beautiful quality of reorganizing us as needed. So that was that. So we are on which one?
A subtraction
Subtraction.
problem. Page
Yeah,
10.
I'll put the light on. You won't be able to see me, but there we are. Baba gives us clues about the spiritual path. Just the phrase withdrawal of consciousness in his discourse, arriving at self-knowledge, is a big clue because the whole process of the spiritual path involves withdrawing our consciousness from the lures of the attractions in the gross world and beginning to work within. Inner withdrawal is precipitated by disillusionment or simply common horse sense. We reach the point where we consciously withdraw our attention from the exterior world and begin to focus it more within, at inner levels. In other words, as we become tired of the sense of bondage that we ordinarily experience after so much disillusionment and considerable inner striving, we turn away from the gross and toward God and reality within. In essence, inner work is a process of using our consciousness to separate the false from the real, because the real cannot be added to the false. The false must go. What we have to do is counteract our own ignorance. I recall that Meher Baba once said that the truth, the real, cannot be known unless ignorance, the false, is known to be ignorance. This is all part of the conquest of the unconscious that Baba discusses. Say Baba.
Jai Baba, yeah. Any comments? I know the Darwin used to use the image of the tentacles of withdrawing the tentacles of consciousness from being enmeshed in the world and enmeshed in our little personality self, our little melodrama. But I always found that image very clear, just an octopus withdrawing its tentacles from so much involvement in the outer and finding that place within. You know.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Yes, this passage recalls to mind the song Gate Chalo, and it deals with the concept of falseness, the false self versus the true self. And it's like right on point for that.
Yeah. Gate Chalo. Gate Chalo. Okay, the very last one, individual paths.
Ken and Betty, what about you? You're in Rhode Island?
Yeah, in Rhode Island, yeah.
All right, are you able to hear us?
Yes.
All right, individual paths. Despite periods where we may not seem to be getting anywhere, Meher Baba says that we are continuously growing and making progress. The journey involves sporadic growth and apparent ups and downs until we reach the path of fortunate non-return. Each of us has to work with the sanskaras, the limitations, and the illusion of our own environment, of our own being. There are as many perspectives as there are individuals because of our different sanskaras backgrounds. So we are not identical in how we do this inner working. We have to forge our own ways of working and following our own inner path. Also, we go through phases, so the ways in which we work change. It is not a matter of doctrines, and Meher Baba purposely avoided establishing systems or doctrines. And we are not following followers of Baba. We are following the Master himself within our own being. Srila Baba.
Jai Baba, yeah. Any comments on that last paragraph?
Yeah, I love this reminder. I love this reminder that we are not to have cult of personality. We're not to follow, our other Baba lovers. Oh, this person is so great, and blah blah blah. Even Darwin, right? We're not to deify anybody. We're to go directly to the master, and we can be inspired by each other. But it's really like, I love it. He brings it right back. It's really, we're supposed to have the relationship with Baba. We can love each other, and we do, but it's really about us going directly to Baba and having that relationship with Baba. Thank you, Jai Baba.
Yeah. I used to refer to Darwin as Clark Kent, kind of a mild-mannered, reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper, and he was very unassuming and low-key, but whenever he started talking about Baba, he took off. And if you were there, it was something great to experience, because Baba could come through so powerfully through him. But if you saw him in a mall, people would pass right by. He was so, like I say, unassuming, and didn't kind of get in the way between anybody and Baba. It was beautiful about that. Yeah. Hey, so shall we have a few? Well, go ahead. Yeah.
We've got a couple of hands up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry and Carol Ann.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I haven't looked at Effort and Grace for a number of years. And I'm struck by how I'm different now than when I last looked at it. But I found this whole group process very, very supportive. I found Darwin's words supportive. And then there was also something about, having each person speak and their, Baba coming through them. So I just want to thank everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Paulie.
Yeah, I was just thinking earlier of the Mohammedan quote from Jeff. I think it goes, Jeff, everything is the will of Allah, but don't forget to tie up your camel.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
It's a good line.
A great line.
Yeah. So why don't we? I don't know if there's any. Oh, I'll end with one thing that Darwin used to say, and then maybe we can have a few moments of silence. How does that sound to everybody? Is this a good? Okay. Darwin, with a very kind of enigmatic smile on his face, would say, sooner or later, you discover you're nobody. That is not an unhappy discovery. That was, he didn't mind being just a vessel and letting Baba live through him. So anyway, let's take a few moments of silence before we, and then maybe at the very end we could say the beloved God prayer. Okay.
Great.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. There was one more person that didn't get to speak.
Okay.
Gail, are you able to speak to us?
Yeah, this is Gail from the Chapel Hill group. I'm in North Carolina.
Oh, great. Sorry,
I'll just say quickly
yeah.
that I got to participate in 2016 when I was in India for 5 months. Jeff came through for part of it, but we had an Effort and Grace meeting, and it's thrilling to be part of an Effort and Grace meeting again. Thank you, everybody. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Gail.
If you go to ambcircleoffriends.com and then you click on the calendar, all of our online meetings are there. We're just going to keep updating. So we also have a weekly newsletter. So once things get settled down, then we'll actually be able to list what events we're having. But I'm just in process with so many ideas because instead of the Circle Center closing, we're getting bigger.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll do
I'm
that.
so glad that you checked in. It's so wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.